Putting my own unceasing love for them aside, I would hardly call puzzle games wildly popular as a genre. While a special few like Portal, The Room, and The Witness have achieved mainstream appeal, most of what I would call the genre's best are relegated to cult classic status. In spite of this, the past several years have seen some very passionate developers lean into puzzle game concepts so niche that a vast majority of gamers haven't heard of them at all. Games like Opus Magnum and Infinifactory, with programming and automation-oriented enigmas that are incredibly clever but so difficult sometimes as to break spirits and melt minds in the process. Linkito is the latest title to wear its love of tech-forward puzzle solving as a proud badge of honor, but through a slow and steady learning curve and a wide variety of interesting mechanics, it may just win over folks who have previously found this genre far too inaccessible for their weak, feeble minds. And by their weak, feeble minds, I really mean my weak, feeble mind, because programming puzzles are hard and I am delicate. And yet, Linkito clicked with me. Just a quick reminder that if you click with us and the quality gaming content we strive to provide, maybe think about giving this video a like, subscribing to the channel, and checking out our Patreon in the link below. And don't forget to check out our streams every Tuesday and Thursday. Contrary to my experience with most programming-focused games of its ilk, Linkito presents a surprisingly gentle learning curve that teaches you all the basics of its logic by not just telling you how it works, but making you demonstrate your understanding with simple, intuitive puzzles. That might just sound like any regular old tutorial to you, and in a sense it is, but I never hit the same hard wall of difficulty that I would hit on other titles like the aforementioned Opus Magnum, because I usually felt well prepared for challenges this game threw at me. At first, you won't be doing much in Linkito beyond connecting a few wires to take electrical power from input to output. This is done by drawing wires with your mouse from yellow power input modules to blue power output modules. But before long, complications get introduced. Maybe your input module will require a button or switch to flip in order to send power through it. Maybe it'll be tied to a metronome that only grants power every other second, thus requiring some clever synchronization between components of the puzzle to get a consistent power output. And in some of the more complex levels, you may have to use your circuitry to decode and then combine secret messages into an output module. It sounds complicated, and it certainly does get complicated. Even as someone with reasonable familiarity with programming, some later puzzles had me stumped until I was willing to think outside of the box a bit. But as much as I'd occasionally stare at the screen for minutes on end waiting for a solution to jump out at me, Linkito excelled in giving me the tools to succeed and ensuring I understood every piece a puzzle can have before integrating it into its level design repertoire. Most of the puzzles you see on screen right now might look completely incomprehensible, and I don't blame you for thinking so, but the way Linkito empowers you by helping you understand complex systems through their discrete individual parts is immensely satisfying. Thankfully, for the situations where I felt a little dense and just couldn't make headway on a particular level, a hint button gives some helpful clarification on what the puzzle's key mechanic is to ensure you can keep progressing at a decent pace. Progression in Linkito is also more than just making your way through a set of levels. There's a surprisingly meaty narrative to progress through, albeit one that ticks off a few too many cliches to be more than just tasteful window dressing to the puzzles themselves. The game kicks off with the assignment ceremony, which is the annual lottery of the Albatross Tech Corporation. As the winner of the lottery, you get the privilege of working your way up Albatross's corporate ladder, a privilege unafforded by most of what Mr. Morgan, your onboarding manager, calls the Forgotten Ones, the impoverished citizens left to rot in the aftermath of what's only referred to as the Great War of 1890. And if there's one thing I know about massive megacorporations building wealth in semi-apocalyptic last refuges of humanity, it's that everything they do is totally above board with nothing shady going on whatsoever. The plot develops at a reasonable pace and is fun to follow along with, but rarely provides any substantive lore to give context to its characters or world, and is mostly a by-the-numbers story of corporate espionage that won't exactly make you spit out your coffee with every shocking revelation it brings forth. It's not bad, it's just fine. And for a puzzle game where I wouldn't expect a story to begin with, its existence feels like wrapping up dinner at a restaurant and being handed a few free peppermint candies with your check. It's not what I'm here for, and I don't really want it that much, but thanks, I'll take it anyway. Linkito's strength lies not in its story, but in the sheer variety of ideas it presents for its puzzles. You'll power generators, decrypt messages, use Morse code, automate robots, defuse bombs, and much more. The way it combines these ideas to create puzzles that seem obtuse as hell on the surface but perfectly manageable in execution is really well done. Well, most of the time anyway. Because while I enjoyed a vast majority of the puzzle solving in Linkito, the downside of putting so many ideas in motion is that it becomes more likely that some won't quite land. For example, some of its levels will task you with controlling small robots used to hit switches and navigate obstacles in order to complete a level. When these puzzles are more focused on automation, they can be a really good time, but many require you to control the robots manually with a button that generates a robot, a button that moves it in whatever direction it's facing, and a button that switches its direction. While these levels can still have interesting mechanics at play, actually executing them can be an exercise in tedium, with the robot controls feeling clunky and unintuitive, almost as if you're playing a basic platformer but controlling your character with the strings of an amateur puppeteer. Some of Linkito's later levels can have issues too, mostly with introducing ideas in a way that feels obtuse and lacking proper context. In the last set of levels especially, you'll deal with puzzles that require you to navigate so many things at once that I had to stare at them for ages to understand what I had to do, even with hints activated. It wasn't so much that the puzzles were difficult, but more that executing them required knowledge that hadn't felt properly tutorialized and required some trial and error to truly understand. It was a relatively minor issue, but created some tedium nevertheless as the game neared the conclusion of its campaign. There's lots of extra content in Linkito though, so the campaign is only a part of it. First of all, each of the campaign's major areas include a variety of challenging bonus levels that will definitely give that noggin a workout, but probably the biggest extra feature worth mentioning is the level creator, which is a robust set of tools allowing you to create your own puzzles and share them with the community, as well as rate ones you've played on a 5-star scale. With this, the bonus levels, and a separate mini campaign catered toward Twitch streamers, there's a lot of content here and surely enough to keep puzzle fans busy for a good long while. Linkito's presentation isn't gonna create much buzz on its own, but certainly gets the job done. Visuals and environmental design feel pretty samey throughout, but with focus on ensuring interactable elements within each puzzle are easily identifiable and that nothing inadvertently blends into the background. I wish I could comment on the Steam Deck support, but I encountered an odd bug where I couldn't even download the game on deck, never mind play it, so unfortunately I don't have much more to say about that except that hopefully deck support will come in due time for those who prefer to solve your puzzles on the go. Music and sound effects in the game are pretty good, but nothing especially memorable, and like the narrative, managed to be both inoffensive and easy to ignore. While there's no doubt that Linkito is a game for a specific audience that likes the idea of programmable circuitry, I think plenty of puzzle fans will find more to like here than they may think. Its gentle learning curve and wealth of interesting puzzle ideas keep things fresh as the game goes on, and the inclusion of a level creator is bound to add lots of extra content for those who want it. Even with some of its more tedious puzzles and design missteps later in the campaign, I had a good time with Linkito and would recommend it for anybody eager for a puzzle game that's a little bit different and tests your brain's metal without short-circuiting it in the process. Linkito gets the bronze genie lamp of approval.